Now to some football news. We had an interesting week of football news for sure, starting with the big one. Jamal Adams is moving to the Seattle Seahawks in exchange for Bradley McDougall, a 2021 first and a third-round pick, and a 2022 first. So all those picks are going to the Jets. Brandon, I'll start with you. You mentioned Jamal Adams being a good fit for the Seahawks. You were 100% right. Tell me what you like about this trade.
A lot of people are saying that it was too much, giving up too much. I think it's one of those things where people forget that the Seahawks don't really do much with first-round picks. Because we haven't really, we trade back a lot. Yeah. And so to me, trading those picks is basically the equivalent of just doing what we would do with them anyway. So and we get a verified, certified all-star safety. So I'm down with it. All pro, yeah. I'm down with it.
I didn't think it was an overpay. Shane, what were your thoughts on the trade?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I think this is a great trade for both teams. Because, I mean, yeah, it sucks that the Jets had to lose him, but I mean, they probably were going to either way. So, you know, to think that they lost him, but then they got 2 first-round picks plus
a third next year.
In exchange for another safety.
Bradley McDougall is going to do okay for them. It's not best for Marcus May, but hey.
He's not, I mean, yeah, McDougall, he's not great, but he's all right.
I think serviceable is the best word I can put on him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, in the long run, I think the Jets will be able to get something good out of one of those 4. And yeah, I mean, like Brandon said, the Seahawks don't do well with first rounds draft picks, so losing those, I mean, it doesn't concern me too much. The biggest thing about this Seahawks defense, last year my biggest concern with them was the secondary, but then Shaquille Griffin, I think he's not bad. I think he had a bit of a down year last year, but I think he can still do well. And then obviously they picked up Quandre Diggs about halfway through the season, which was huge for them, and then Jamal Adams now. And I do think Trey Flowers is getting better. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, who knows what's happening with Dunbar, but so I think the secondary, it's not like Legion of Boom good, obviously, but it's a lot better now. I mean, I think it's pretty decent. Now they just have to get the D line a bit better, but we'll see with that. So yeah.
Speaking on the D line, this all but solidifies Clowney not being a Seahawk next year. From what I'm hearing, that is over. Tennessee are probably the only team left here, and maybe the Jets are as well, because Bradley McDougall is making a push for that. But obviously the Jets have been in and out, but the Seahawks are officially out of that sweepstakes. I can confirm that. So as you guys mentioned, I think we are all thankful that we don't have to react to a Seahawks first-round pick for the next 2 years, because they are just terrible at drafting in the first round. Let's just be honest. They are terrible at it, and they have been for the last 3 years. So, yeah, I don't think it's that bad. But I looked at it, and I was like, it may not be exactly 2013, but it's just like a little. It's not a lot, but it's a little. It's starting to feel like this is what they were doing. Like, you're like, sort of from a little bit of an outsider's view, if you look at the Seahawks, you look at sort of after Richard Sherman and all those guys who got shipped off, you're like, all right, what's their game plan moving forward? And now when you have Jamal Adams, now I'm starting to understand what the game plan was, right? This was a game plan built on like, all right, let's kind of go back to what we were. Obviously, we're not going to be the same. It's never going to be as good as that. But if we can just get a little bit of that with a guy like Jamal Adams, and as you mentioned, Shane, the secondary, I think, is still growing as a whole. and adding in a solidified star in Jamal Adams can only help them, not hurt them in terms of their secondary. So I love it, and I think you're finally starting to see like, okay, this is what the Seahawks were planning on for a while, and they finally got their guy to do it.
Yeah.
I
was surprised too that he actually did end up in Seattle, because I was thinking that he would.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas was fairly clear for a few months, but
then when I heard the news, I was like, whoa. All right then.
Dallas, I think it was pretty simple that they just couldn't come to any agreement. I mean, they could have had him last year, but the price was too high. I've mentioned that repeatedly. The reality is I don't think Dallas had a package that they could do, especially with the Dak contract and trying to figure that out.
Hey, they're amazing quarterbacks. So much fun.
So I think because of that, it was tough for them to figure out how to really formulate a deal.